a post-nuclear role-playing game. Fallout 1 delivers exactly what it promises. A stark, immersive journey through a post-apocalyptic world where every choice you make shapes the grim narrative. This description fits perfectly and encapsulates what defines a true Fallout game. In the modern-day interpretation of Fallout games, the fan base is often split between purists and mainstream fans, more specifically those who favor Fallout New Vegas and those who prefer Fallout 4. Undoubtedly, Fallout 4 might be the better game as it's the most modern, but objectively speaking, Fallout New Vegas is the better Fallout game. In my opinion, what truly defines a Fallout game as a Fallout game is its connection to the original, characterized by a rich variety of meaningful choices and the consequences they bring that ultimately shape the player's journey. Fallout 1 is a journey of choice and consequence. Literally every action you do is impactful, including inaction. In the game, Vault 13's water chip has malfunctioned, and you, the Vault Dweller, have been tasked to find a replacement from the Wasteland before your water supply runs out in 150 days. Every day you spend in the Wasteland carries weight, whether you're side questing, reading books, goofing off, committing crimes, making money, or doing nothing at all. Each action reduces the limited time you have to retrieve the water chip and save the vault. The moment you step outside of Vault 13, you're hit with the reality of the Wasteland, a world ravaged by nuclear war, where survival is a daily struggle. With the ticking clock, you might assume that going straight to the water chip is the best solution, so you can save your vault and get the hell out of this hellhole immediately. If you, for whatever reason, already know where the water chip is located, there's nothing preventing you from heading straight to it. Like in Fallout 3, if you know James is in Vault 112, you can bypass Megaton, the Brotherhood, or any other clues the game gives you and head straight there. But Fallout 1 is a different beast. You see, this is an old school CRPG. If you're new to the genre or your only experience is with something like Baldur's Gate 3, you're in for a much tougher challenge if you decide to take this direct route. You see, old school CRPGs like Fallout 1 have a very steep learning curve. They demand that you spend time leveling up and gearing your character properly before you tackle the main objectives. Rushing in without preparation can quickly lead to your death, so despite the ticking clock, you're better off experiencing the game the way it was intended. And truthfully, you have more than enough time to do so. Which means your first stop is Shady Sands, the birthplace of the NCR. 27 years later, Shady Sands is a legendary town in the Fallout universe, but back in the day this was just a starter area, which means quests revolving around clearing out trash mobs, in this case, rad scorpions. And of course you always have the right to simply be an asshole and not help the residents of Shady Sands. In fact, you can be rude or ill-mannered in almost every single conversation should you desire. This often leads to you being shunned or even attacked. Just like in real life, being rude always leads to a worse outcome. So just because it allows you to do so, you really shouldn't be rude to anyone unless you really feel like they deserve it. And it's always best to be kind and respectful. After some time in Shady Sands, you'll hear news of someone called Tandi and that she's been kidnapped. In this game, Tandi is just a bored resident of Shady Sands, but in the later games, we learn that she becomes president of the NCR. Should you choose to help her, you learn that she was kidnapped by the cons. You might recognize them from Fallout New Vegas. To rescue her, Fallout 1 offers you a variety of interesting choices. For example, you always have the option of violence, so you can head to the cons gun in hand, blasting whoever opposes you. In the early game, this is a tough fight, so I wouldn't recommend you do this, even though this is technically the canon way of completing the quest, as this version of events is referenced in later games. If you choose to approach with a weapon holstered, you have the option to talk to Garl, the leader of the cons. From here, you gain several different options to free Tandi. For example, you can barter for her, and depending on your skill points, she can cost between 400 and 1100 caps, a pretty good value considering she's a future president. Alternatively, you can duel Garl in unarmed combat. The victor gets Tandi. Or you can sneak in and free her without anyone even noticing. The most hilarious and most Fallout way of completing this quest occurs if you have high enough luck to where you'll be mistaken for Garl's father, the Death Hand. The Death Hand is the original founder of the Khans. Garl killed the Death Hand prior to these events, so the Khans assume that you've risen from the dead. From there, you can threaten Garl to release Tandi, or you can simply reason with him, and of course your player stats determine your success with either of these options. Quests like this are quintessentially Fallout. If you're a fan of New Vegas, it's likely these kinds of experiences that made you fall in love with the game and the series. Or at least that was my experience. You see this sort of freedom everywhere in Fallout 1. When you head to places like Junktown or the Hub, every conflict can be approached in multiple ways. Whether you prefer the tried and true guns blazing approach or the more nuanced path of diplomacy, the game offers a solution that fits your playstyle. And if you look closely, you'll often find more clever and unique ways to resolve situations. The beauty of Fallout 1 is that you're never forced into a specific moral path. You can choose to side with the good guys or join the evil factions, or remain neutral, carving out your own unique role in the Wasteland. Sometimes it might just be about what nets you the most caps, and that's totally up to you. Take for example the quest involving Tandi. Instead of rescuing her after she's kidnapped, if you approach the Khans beforehand, you have the option to join their gang. It requires you to kill some slaves, which of course impacts your reputation and karma, but it's always an option for those who prefer to be evil. For me, it's these quests that truly make the game special. They're a reminder of a time when games offered a rich, complex narrative, and developers poured passion into every detail. It's hard not to feel a sense of nostalgia for those days, knowing that such dedication is becoming increasingly rare in today's gaming landscape. But don't let all this nostalgia make you lose track of time. Remember, we're on a tight schedule. And just a heads up, major main story spoilers are coming up. So if this video has piqued your interest in playing Fallout 1, now is the time to like the video and subscribe before clicking away. Still here? Alright, let's dive in. Eventually, you will discover that the water chip is located in Necropolis. You learn the water chip's location organically through your dealings in the hub. However, it is entirely possible for you to stumble upon Necropolis before this revelation and immediately leave because, well, it's not exactly the place you want to hang around in. If you do this, you start to realize that you're not just on a clock, those ticking days actually influence the world around you. This dynamic element of time pressure is something that even many modern games shy away from, likely because it can be quite unforgiving to players who aren't prepared. But in Fallout 1, it's a core part of the game's experience. Once you step foot into Necropolis, a countdown begins. 30 days later, the entire city is destroyed by super mutants once you return. Alternatively, if the date reaches March 25th, 2162, before you even have a chance to visit Necropolis, the super mutants invade regardless. This isn't just a localized event. The same fate awaits the other cities, which also fall to mutant invasions on specific dates. Slowly, they invade from the west and eventually reach your vault. This looming threat is separate to the ticking clock of the water chip and ties directly into the larger plot surrounding the Master. So even if you manage to secure the water chip in time, your mission isn't over. If you don't deal with the Master, sooner or later, Vault 13 and the rest of the Wasteland will be doomed. Like everything in Fallout 1, there's no set path for you to follow. The Overseer simply tells you to head west to deal with the super mutant threat after you hand him the water chip. By this point, you'll have gathered plenty of clues about the Master's exact location, and nothing is stopping you from heading straight there. But again, that's not the best idea. Fortunately, as you make your way west towards the Master, you'll likely happen upon the Brotherhood of Steel. These guys are referenced multiple times throughout the game, so it feels completely natural to stop by their base before diving headfirst into the final confrontation. This is yet again another brilliant piece of game design. Rather than forcing you into a specific action, the game subtly encourages you to gear up, plan, and explore your options without explicitly holding your hand. It's the kind of intelligent game design that's often missing from modern games, where freedom is sometimes sacrificed for the sake of streamlined gameplay. Here, your intuition and curiosity is rewarded, making the experience feel more immersive and authentic. Another great modern game that does this is Elden Ring, and while it might be unforgiving, it definitely makes the final outcome that much more enjoyable. The Brotherhood themselves are a treasure trove of resources and knowledge, offering you all the tools needed to stand a chance against the Master. Power armor, advanced weaponry, and specialized training are all within your grasp, but only if you take the time to seek them out. From there, you have several options when dealing with the Brotherhood of Steel, as you have options with practically everything you do. You can choose to join their ranks, gain access to their advanced technology and training. However, if their ideologies doesn't align with your own beliefs, you can simply ignore them and continue your journey elsewhere. This might make the rest of the game more difficult, but it's still definitely possible. Alternatively, if you've honed your stealth skills, you could steal from them, quietly taking what you need without fully committing to their cause. Or, if you've built your character into a true powerhouse, you could go the extreme route and slaughter them all, and take whatever you need from their corpses. This is a perfect example of how Fallout 1 doesn't hand you the victory on a silver platter, and how you have to earn it by being smart, resourceful, and well prepared. And speaking of preparing, this is just one possible way of preparing. Fallout 1 truly shines in how it offers multiple approaches to its ending. If gearing up with the Brotherhood and charging in guns blazing isn't your style, there are other, more subtle methods to tackle the final confrontation. For instance, if you've developed your character with a focus on stealth and charisma, you can use subterfuge to your advantage. As always, if you've spent time exploring, you'll uncover that the children of the cathedral work for the Master, and so you'll have the option to disguise yourself as one of them. This type of disguise mechanic is something that we only see in these older games and Fallout New Vegas. The Master is, without a doubt, one of the best villains in the Fallout series. He deserves his own dedicated video to truly explore how brilliantly written his character is. But for the sake of context in this one, here's a brief overview. The Master is the leader of the super mutants, and his grand vision is to create a world dominated by them. A master race that he believes will thrive in the harsh conditions of the post-apocalyptic Wasteland. His plan is both terrifying and deeply complex, as he's convinced that the unity is the only path forward to humanity's survival. What makes the Master such a compelling villain is that he's not driven by blind malice or power for its own sake. His motivations are rooted in a twisted sense of salvation. He believes that by transforming humans into super mutants, he's saving them from the radiation-ravaged wasteland and the inevitable extinction that he believes awaits the human race. This ideology gives him a tragic edge. He's not just a monster, but a figure trying to rebuild the world in his own grotesque vision. This theme of trying to rebuild the world through drastic, often horrifying means is something we see recurring throughout the Fallout series. It's a reflection of the series' central theme, war. War never changes. Despite the varying visions of its leaders and the changing technologies, the underlying nature of human conflict and the attempt to control or save humanity in destructive ways remain constant. Throughout the game, as you uncover more about him, it becomes clear that the Master's plan is a meticulously thought out one. He's not just a military leader commanding an army of mutants. He's a deeply intellectual figure who's constantly experimenting, trying to create the perfect species. But that's also his flaw. You see, in actuality, his plan is far from perfect. And once again, if you really take the time to explore the Wasteland, you'll be able to gather enough evidence to eventually confront him with the knowledge that super mutants are sterile, which undermines his entire vision. And once he's aware of this fact, he self-destructs. This ability to defeat the Master without violence, by using knowledge and diplomacy instead of brute force, is what sets him apart from most villains in gaming. It also reflects the depth of Fallout 1's design, where you can choose your approach based on your character's strengths, whether through combat, intellect, or persuasion. It's also a testament to how well integrated choice and consequence are in the game, showing that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a gun, but the truth. Alternatively, you have the path of least resistance by simply giving in and becoming a part of the Master's army, dooming your entire vault and the Wasteland as a whole in the process. This kind of freedom is rare, and what makes Fallout 1 so special, and why so many people refer to Fallout New Vegas as a true Fallout game, possibly even the best game. If you recall, you can defeat Legate Lanius through debate as well, not funneled into a one-size-fits-all ending. Instead, it takes into account the choices you've made, the skills you've developed, and the alliances you formed, allowing you to shape the final act based on the character you've built, offering a variety of ways to bring the Master's plans to an end. That is the essence of Fallout, a world where your choice matters and there's no right way to play. It's a game where preparation isn't just about gathering the best gear, it's about understanding who you are in the Wasteland and using every tool at your disposal to forge your own path. Now, unfortunately, we need to address some of the game's flaws. Setting aside the fact that it's an older game with inherent issues that come with that, there are specific aspects about how Fallout 1 delivers information that can make the game quite problematic. In all honesty, this is a game where having a guide is pretty much necessary, because a guide would be able to tell you that certain skills are absolutely mandatory unless you want to spend your playthrough pulling out your hair. For instance, investing heavily into the small gun skills is crucial. This skill is invaluable because small firearms are the primary means of combat throughout most of the game. Similarly, both speech and lockpicking skills are crucial. Unlike in modern Fallout games, speech significantly impacts NPC interactions, unlocking unique dialogue options and influencing quests. Investing into lockpicking is also equally important as it provides access to extremely valuable loot, hidden areas, and key quest items that you'll otherwise have no way of getting. Both skills enhance your playthrough a lot, and if your stat investment is based on modern games, you might inadvertently ruin your playthrough. Then we need to talk about the skills that frankly suck due to poor implementation. Take for example Sneak. In modern Bethesda games, it's one of the most powerful abilities. However, in this game, it's a piece of shit. One major issue is that unless you turn off auto-run, a feature many players keep enabled, your character won't actually be able to use the sneak function as intended, and that's never clearly communicated to players. And there are more problems as well. During my own playthrough, I ventured into Necropolis on a caravan expedition, and then returned to the hub. I spent so much time in the hub that when I eventually came back to Necropolis, it was destroyed by super mutants, and that locked me out of any possible quests I could do there. So I had to reload a previous save, losing hours of progress just to ensure I could complete everything the game had to offer. While I do appreciate the lack of handholding this game offers, a lot of my frustration in this game is that developers forgoed any attempt to communicate certain gameplay mechanics the same way they did for other game mechanics. But above all, the worst thing in this game is the companions. Don't get me wrong, they're interesting characters, helpful in various ways, and you almost always want to have them around, but my god, are they infuriating. Don't make the mistake of giving any of your companions anything close to a burst weapon, because they will kill you and everyone else in your party. Furthermore, to actually trade with them, rather than a modern day trading menu, you have to barter with them to give them items and take items, or alternatively steal from them. And of course, like every CRPG game of this era, they will undoubtedly block doorways that will lead to their death or your death, which is a pain in the ass throughout the game, but an absolute nightmare in the endgame, specifically Mariposa Military Base with its fancy force field doors. But in fairness, even modern day Fallout games have this issue. And yet, here we are, 27 years later, and Fallout 1 remains a game I absolutely adore, and would genuinely consider a masterpiece. It may require an adjustment period, especially if you're not accustomed to classic CRPGs, but once you overcome that initial learning curve, you're in for one of the all-time greatest experiences in gaming. The depth, the freedom, the intricacies of its design make it a truly memorable journey that continues to